Tim Kaine. Good morning, Senator.
Hey, Allison, good to be with you.
What did you think last night when you heard Donald Trump say that he was not prepared to say whether or not he would concede the race? He would decide then if he were to lose.
Well, it was a shocker. There were other shockers last night, but that was the biggest one. I worked as a missionary in Honduras 35 years ago, and it was a military dictatorship. And I learned from that experience that the acceptance of the outcome of an election and the peaceful transfer of power is a pillar of our nation's democracy. And after an insult-driven campaign where Donald has insulted virtually everybody, now he's trying to pull the central pillar down, and I can't imagine why he would do that, except for the reason that Hillary pointed out. If he thinks things are going against him, if he thinks he's going to lose, he's going to claim it's all rigged against him. He did it with the Emmy Awards, for gosh sake, and he even tried to argue last night that the Emmy Award was wrong and he should have won it. But he can't take responsibility, and that's an important trait. But
Senator, are you and Hillary Clinton and your teams talking about the possible scenario of what happens on November 9th if, hypothetically, you and Hillary Clinton were to win, Donald Trump were to lose, but he doesn't concede? Then what?
Well, that's tough. That's very tough. Now, whether or not he concedes is probably irrelevant. The question is the mandate clear on the 8th of November? I'm in North Carolina today. Early voting starts here. We're doing everything we can to encourage everybody to participate so that the mandate will be very clear. Donald is still going to whine if he loses, but if the mandate is clear, I don't think many people will follow him. And you know, it's just this inability to accept responsibility is at the core of this. But that trait of our democracy is so critical.
I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I guess my question, because we've heard this at some of his rallies lately from his supporters, is that they feel as though if they were disenfranchised, if it doesn't go their way, they have said that they might take matters into their own hands. And I'm just wondering if you guys behind the scenes are talking about any possible scenario where there's violence or protests or things like that.
We do have a concern, but we also have confidence in the American public. I think we're going to sprint through the tape. We're going to get everybody to participate because it's easy to participate, and hopefully have a mandate. And we're confident in the American public that they will accept the outcome of this election, just as they have in elections time after time after time in this country. It is a pillar of our country, and it's not just a pillar because because presidents follow the tradition. It's also a pillar because the electorate follows the tradition, and we have no reason to believe that when the dust settles on November 9th, they will not follow what we have done in every preceding presidential election.
Okay, Senator, let's fact check some of Hillary Clinton's claims last night. She talked about the national debt. Let me play that moment for you and our viewers.
Right.
If you look at the debt, which is the issue you asked about, Chris, I pay for everything I'm proposing. I do not add a penny to the national debt. I take that very seriously because I do think it's one of the issues we've got to come to grips with.
Okay, so the nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget rates that as false. They say that her plan would increase the national debt by $200 billion over a decade. What's your response?
That group does good work, and that's the conclusion they've reached. But as you know, these are not always matters of just complete mathematical certainty. We have a plan on the table, and we have revenue sources to pay for all our proposals. I will say about that organization that they make a particular conclusion about the Clinton plan. They also make a conclusion about the Trump plan, that the Trump plan would increase the national debt not by hundreds of billions of dollars, but by $5 trillion, blowing a massive hole in the debt.
Well, you're right about that. They go on to say, just so that everyone knows, they estimate that her plan would increase spending in areas such as infrastructure, more financial aid for college students, as we've heard, early childhood education, that's part of her plan. It would increase the national debt by $200 billion, as I said, over 10 years. They say that Donald Trump's would add $5.3 trillion over 10 years. Yes, his is more, but still, how can voters believe her plan where she says it wouldn't increase by a penny when this outfit says, no, that's wrong, it's actually $200 billion?
Well, I'll just say this again. The outfit concludes that the Trump plan would increase debt 20 times the Hillary Clinton plan. But just because this group says that, they're not the umpire. They're not like calling balls and strikes and everybody agrees that they're right. They're doing their own estimate. We have worked very hard on a plan and tried to put revenue sources on the table, HillaryClinton.com, you can check it out, to pay for every aspect of all the investments we would make. This is a group, and again, I'm not demeaning the group, but they look at the plans a little bit differently than we do. But in terms of how they compare the plans, the comparison is stark, that our plan is much more fiscally responsible than the Trump plan with respect to the debt.
Senator Tim Kaine, thank you for being on New Day. We appreciate talking to you.
Absolutely. Glad to be with you, Allison.
All right, so we've just heard